If you found this channel because you're looking for anxiety advice, then I can almost guarantee that what I'm going to talk about in this video is the only thing you're really anxious about and the only fix you need to make to feel normal again. Hi, I'm Tim Box, mind coach, anxiety therapist and author of Clear Your Head. Today I'm going to be talking about a concept originally introduced by psychiatrist Dr. Claire Weekes in her 1962 book, Self-Help for Your Nerves, and that is the second fear. And the funny thing is that even though it's referred to as second fear, in my experience of working with clients one-to-one for about 13 years now, it's almost always the primary issue we're actually dealing with. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is the second fear? Well, it's probably best described as the fear of fear itself. It's that additional layer of anxiety that kicks in when we start to fear our anxious sensations. We're not just anxious about the original trigger anymore, we're anxious about being anxious. Imagine it like this. You've got that initial wave of anxiety. Maybe it's been triggered by a stressful situation, a sudden unnerving thought, or even seemingly out of nowhere. That's the first fear. That's what everyone experiences on pretty much a daily basis. The anxiety puts our focus on whatever it is that feels demanding of our focus right now, and as a result, we do what we can to deal with the situation. Oh, I need to pay that bill today, or okay, that's right, I've got that important meeting tomorrow, so I should probably do some prep for it. The first fear is the anxiety that spurs us to take action where it's required. But what if instead of just letting that pass, we start thinking, oh no, why am I feeling this way? What's wrong with me? Is this going to spiral? Perhaps I'm going to have a panic attack. And there it is, the second fear. It's the fear of the feeling itself, the meta fear if you like. And it's what really ramps things up from manageable to overwhelming. It could be argued that the vast majority of our higher levels of anxiety are purely fueled by anxious feelings about how anxious we actually feel. So here's why things often go wrong, why we go from perfectly normal, healthy anxiety levels to suddenly fearing our anxiety response and, as a result, sending anxiety through the roof. If we treat anxiety as some sort of illness or disorder, we're immediately framing our experience as something fundamentally wrong or broken about us. It becomes something we think we need to fix rather than something we need to understand and work with. This is the mindset that creates that second fear. If anxiety is seen as an illness, then every anxious sensation feels like a symptom of a deeper problem, a flare-up of our condition. Think about it. If you believe you have a disorder, then every time anxiety shows up, it's like a confirmation of that belief. You're not just anxious, you're having an episode or relapsing. You start to expect anxiety to show up. And more than that, you start fearing it because it represents this bigger problem you think you have. This kind of framing keeps us in a feedback loop. Anxiety just becomes the enemy, a thing to battle or overcome. And that's a tough fight to win because it's a fight with ourself. In truth, anxiety isn't our enemy. It's just a natural part of being human. Anxiety is an emotion, not an illness. Here's the thing, anxiety is one of our core emotions. It's not some external invader or a sign that something's broken in your brain. It's just a response. And like all emotions, it serves a purpose. It's there to prepare and protect you, to get you ready to deal with challenges, and sometimes it's just a leftover habit from past experiences, kind of like an emotional hangover. The idea that anxiety should never show up is not just unrealistic, it's unhelpful. Just as you wouldn't expect to never feel sad or never feel angry, it's equally unrealistic to expect to never feel anxious. Anxiety is a normal response to life. Sometimes it's a little overactive, sure, but it's not fundamentally wrong. When we treat it as an illness, we disconnect from that natural part of ourselves. We stop seeing anxiety as just another emotion and start seeing it as a malfunction. And when you see perceiving something about you to be a malfunction, you start fearing it because it feels like something you can't control, something that could go off at any time. And that's how we get trapped in the second fear. So how do we break this cycle of second fear? Well, the key, as we've already suggested, is to start treating anxiety like any other emotion. When it shows up, acknowledge it without judgment. Don't immediately jump to the conclusion that something's wrong. Don't start scanning for symptoms or warning signs. Just recognize it's there and as much as you can, let it be there. This seems like something that's easier said than done, I know, but the goal isn't to eliminate anxiety. That's just another form of resistance. The goal is to make room for it, to let it be there without adding that second layer of fear. This doesn't mean you have to like it or want it, it just means you don't have to be afraid of it. Anxiety doesn't need to be battled, it needs to be understood. The more we can shift our mindset from why am I broken to what is this emotion trying to tell me, the less likely we are to trigger any misplaced second fear response. If you're finding this helpful and you want more tips and guidance on how to work with your anxiety rather than fight against it, check out the membership area of this channel. There you'll find a whole load of resources designed to help you create a positive interaction with your mind and get control of your anxiety response. Just hit the join button on the main page or click the link in the video description. Now I know that some of you watching this are getting ready to type in the comments that I'm simply talking about normal everyday anxiety, which is something completely different to a diagnosed anxiety disorder. Well, the simple truth is, no, it's not. In fact, it's that very idea that creates and fuels second fear. The concept that we can have anxiety in a way that differs from normal functioning anxiety is what causes us to start to fear our anxiety response and ultimately leads to us treating it like our enemy. We only get diagnosed with an anxiety disorder when we start to put an inordinate amount of focus on how anxious we feel from moment to moment. And why do we shift our focus in that direction? Because we believe anxiety represents a threat. And why do we believe this? Because we're worried we might have a disorder. And if we have a disorder, that means our anxiety isn't normal. But the simple fact is that no matter what we've been through or what diagnosis we've received, when we stop treating anxiety as something that's wrong with us and start seeing it as a normal part of being human, we remove that second fear. And as anxiety starts to diminish, we might even start to realize that it was only the second fear that was making us so anxious for so long. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who might benefit, and don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this. I'm Tim Box. Always remember to be kind to your mind, and I'll see you next time.